I don't know how I've gone this long without talking about Ultraman on this channel before. People who know me get that I love Ultraman, but my admiration for the franchise has been always set against odd things. Back in the far-off year of 2021, I did a video on Ultra Q, and I want to formally apologize for anyone who clicked on that video expecting an actual review of Ultra Q. For the 2023 April Fool's stream, I played that really shitty Ultraman fighting game.
By God, a spear by Edge. He's going for the stunner, the Stone Cold Stunner. Oh, he got him.
The only good Ultraman related content I've made was that Captain Ultra video I did a while ago. I know that series is tangentially related to Ultraman, but it's good enough for me. I want to talk about an Ultra series that not that many people pay attention to, which sucks, because Ultraman Towards the Future is awesome, or Ultraman Great as it's also called. See what I did there with the title of the video? I managed to put in both names of the show. Alright, cards on the table. Ever since I've properly gotten to Ultraman, I have always loved Towards the Future. And I'm not talking about it so I can corner the market on all things Ultraman Towards the Future related. I am not the first person to talk about the series, but there aren't that many of us. The two big videos I can mention are from Zagorodan and Buster Corp. I'm going to link both those videos in the description. Check them out, especially Zagorodan. He makes awesome Ultraman content along with other random stuff he wants to do. His video is pretty much the same format I usually take with the stuff I do, but in an effort not to repeat what he's already said, I haven't watched his video on Towards the Future in a good while. His videos are more like traditional reviews, while I just talk about stuff that I like, why I like it, and why you should watch it, and more people need to see this show. The one factoid about this show people repeat instead of just watching the show itself is that it's the first live-action Ultraman show made outside of Japan. And I must stress live-action, because this is not the first Ultra series to be made overseas. That honor goes to Ultraman: The Adventure Begins in 1987. And the less said about that, the better. It actually looks fine. I haven't seen it. Feel free to tell me in the comments how Ultraman Scott is your favorite Ultra. I will most certainly acknowledge it. The guys who make these shows, Super Rare Productions, were in a crazy place ever since the 70s by this point. After Ultraman Leo underperformed, they took a couple of years off and made the anime The Ultraman, and that did pretty good. So they made Ultraman 80, and that fucking killed Ultraman forever. I'm just joking. Ultraman 80 is actually pretty alright. People are just mean. But there was a notable lack of big mainstream Ultra stuff, and things like Ultraman Story doesn't count. I have no sympathy for Ultraman Story. So Super Rare Productions started teaming up with other countries to help make new Ultra content. But when their first major attempt of Ultraman: The Adventure Begins in America fell through, they went to their obvious next target, Australia. But don't worry, the USA will have their revenge in 1995. You're probably wondering, why Australia? Out of all countries, why Australia? Apparently they being the South Australian Film Corporation, were cheap and easy to work with. So yeah, good choice I guess. But for real, I really like how they went for this direction, and let's be honest, Australian Ultraman is bound to get some attention. And for the most part, this really is the Australian take on Ultraman. There is still a good deal of Japanese involvement. Some of these people had their fingers in past Ultra shows, while others would make their way onto future Ultra projects. But most of that is the writing. On the technical side of things, it's pretty much all the Australians. And that's a good thing. They were able to put a spin on how these Ultra shows are done. Sometimes for the better, and sometimes for the worst. We'll get to that, but first, we need to actually talk about what the hell this show even is. Ultraman Towards the Future follows Australian astronaut Jack Shindo, who after witnessing the alien Gudis beam itself to Earth, bonds with Ultraman to fight all the crazy-ass monsters that Gudis fights. Who after witnessing the alien Gudis beam itself to Earth, bonds with Ultraman to fight all the crazy-ass monsters that Gudis creates, with the help of the attack team Uma. It's pretty much the same Ultraman formula we all know and love. A monster shows up, the attack team tries to fight it, then Ultraman comes to beat it up, or swat at it and then blow it up. I really like this version of Ultraman. He isn't given a name in the show, but he has been retroactively dubbed Ultraman Great, which is a fine enough name. He certainly looks unique. Great is part of the line of Ultraman that are modeled after the OG Ultraman, and out of all these stooges, I think this one's my favorite. It's probably the spandex suit that does it for me. It's really sleek and gives off the impression that this is his skin. Whenever I look at the old Ultra Bros, I always get the idea they're wearing suits or armor, or like a jacket or something. And I get that's probably just a me thing, but hey, spandex looks awesome with Ultraman. The headpiece does look a little odd though, at least with the older suits, the head and the rest of the body looks, uniform. And I have to mention this, what the fuck is up with the ears? Why are the ears so prominent? Is this part of a running bit with strange ear-related decisions in Ultraman? Remember when Ultra 7 had his ears removed in Ultraman Leo? Now that I've mentioned any of this, none of you will be able to unsee them. Ultraman Great's fighting style is also a little odd. He doesn't have the sumo style of the original, the kung fu of Leo, or the gingivitis of Powered. He has his own style. Great kind of just swats at the baddies. It's good swatting, it's filmed really well, and he does throw the occasional punch and kick, more often than people give him credit for. The sound effects, the way these fights are filmed and edited certainly helps. More often than not, a good chunk of the fight will be spent with Ultraman throwing beams or balls of energy, and he does some cool poses with them to help sell the effect, and a great explosion is always awesome. I like to think Ultraman is fighting a lot more defensively in this show. He isn't as bloodthirsty as the original Ultraman Artaro could be at some times. A good deal of the monsters in the show are mutated animals or creatures cursed by Gudis, so maybe Ultraman fights like this because he doesn't really want to hurt these guys. I know I'm probably reading way too much into this. The choice not to have more elaborate fights was probably down to censorship or the suits not being able to withstand roughhousing, but hey, it gives Great some depth to me. At least these fights are way better than the slightly aggressive shoving in Ultraman the Ultimate Hero. You can at least repackage the fights in Towards the Future, and you would have a really good workout routine. Ultraman Great does do something cool that would not be done for a while.
The land here needs your help.
That's a tall order.
Then you better get started. There's something very wrong here.
Well, where do we look?
You won't have to.
Yeah, the Ultra and the host actually talk to each other. They don't talk that much in the show, but I always appreciate it when there's a fine line of the Ultra-host relationship.
There's always trouble whenever he starts talking to himself.
He also sounds like an old man when he takes off. This might be shallow of me to say, but one of the biggest reasons I like this show is because I really like the attack team. These guys aren't going to win awards anytime soon, and they kind of suck at fighting monsters, but it's all about the personality, man.
And how do we dispatch this grasshopper?
You mean kill it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm a lover, not a fighter. It's not my department.
Think again.
When I started making my way through Showa-era Ultraman, pretty much all the attack teams felt bland and interchangeable to me. With the Science Patrol from the first show being the standout, of course. That might be a hot take, but seriously, tell me the name of this man. I've been trying to remember for weeks, please tell me. But the attack team in Towards the Future has actual personality, it's insane.
I had the greatest weekend with my fiancée. You haven't seen her, have you?
No. Did she spend the weekend in the lab?
Say, that's no way to treat a lady.
How would he know?
Little moments between these guys are sprinkled throughout the entire series, and it goes a long way to making this team entertaining to watch. A big problem I have with most attack teams in this franchise is that they all just take turns talking about the monster, and maybe end with a lame remark. But Towards the Future, there's kind of a rhythm to these interactions. There is a really good balance with info dumping and jokes, and it's never always in-your-face funny moments. Sometimes it's just a little smirk they give to each other, or quickly snapping the conversation back to the monster after a witty remark. This is what happens when you have good actors with good chemistry with each other, and good writing. Good writing also helps. I like the entire attack team. The only real weak link is our main character, Jack Shindo. I don't know why, but even though I've seen this show through a bunch of times, I can barely remember any scenes with him if he isn't talking to Ultraman or Gene Echo. Meanwhile, Captain Arthur is by far the best dude in the show. He's your typical hard-ass captain, but he always has the best interests of his team and is genuinely a nice guy. Lots of great moments in the series come from him.
Arthur, nice clothes.
A fundraising dinner.
You jumping out of the cake?
I'll ignore that.
While I think all the actors in Towards the Future do a great job, Ralph Cotterhill is easily the standout.
At least my men are ready to take the risks your team aren't.
One of my best pilots is out there. The other's in a coma. Don't you talk to me about risks!
Arthur?
It's only been a year since his death in May. Rest in peace, Ralph. You were awesome. Hope you're still kicking ass somewhere. One thing I really commend Towards the Future for doing is having a completely original lineup of monsters. This show was very obviously made on the cheap. It would have been really easy to just make monsters out of pre-existing designs and call it a day. For Christ's sakes, that's what happened on Ultraman the Ultimate Hero. Now that's a show that could have greatly benefited from new monsters instead of just spamming Red King all the goddamn time. Listen, I'm sorry I keep bringing up the Ultimate Hero, but it's an easy and logical comparison to make with another foreign-produced Ultraman show. I hate this show. 50 likes and I review Ultimate Hero. Life is pain. I hate. But no, these are all new monsters, and yeah, not all of them are memorable, but it's still cool. I really do appreciate the genuine effort put into these guys and making a new lineup. And hey, if we make enough noise on social media, maybe we can get Bowgun into Modern Ultraman. This show has a lot of effort put into it overall, and while not everything is perfect, they put effort into most of the right places. For instance, Australia is a setting well utilized for the most part. A good deal of episodes, especially ones in the later half, take place in the outback, and a handful of monsters are based off the Australian wildlife. Now, the easy joke to make is that all the monsters are just Australian wildlife. That is the joke. The music in the show is also awesome. This legitimately might be one of my favorite Ultraman soundtracks, and that's saying a lot when Ultraman 80 exists. It's a good soundtrack. A big orchestral score really fits for Ultraman and really hypes up the stupid ass fight scenes. I know I already talked about the fight scenes, but I still have to give credit. They did their best, alright? Lots of good angles, cool poses, and nice arenas to fight in. I have no real problem with these fights. But one thing I do have a problem with are the computer effects. Holy shit. I feel like this was the first Ultra show to heavily use CGI. Was it a good choice? No, yes. The CGI in this show is objectively bad. Horrible even. This had to be seen as dated even back when the show came out. And I have to keep talking about it because I have so many examples. Holy crap. But it's so bad, it kind of circles back to being hilarious. Every single compositing shot, no matter what angle or the subject, looks fucking hysterical. The 3D island they use on almost every episode is layered over the ocean and the fog. I don't think it's supposed to look like that. But the funniest effect in the show, to me, is when they fade video layers on top of each other. Fucking comedy gold. This is what makes the intro so funny to me. Because it looks lame as hell, but it has awesome music. Like, who saw this and said, yeah, that looks good, put it out? Was it you? Did you do this, Paul Nicola? Okay, I don't want to throw these guys under the bus. These guys are all immensely talented. Like, for fuck's sake, they made Ultraman pretty much by themselves. You know what? Fuck it. Let's give a shout out to the big boy Australian crew. We got Andrew Prouse on the director's chair, and he stuck it out for the entire series. He's worked pretty consistently throughout his life up until his death in 2018, and he has lots of credits on the show Heartbreak High, another big show from Australia that eventually got a Netflix remake in 2022. Rest in peace, Andrew. Terry Larson, the sole Australian writer of the series. A bunch of the Japanese involvement comes from the writing, but Terry was involved with writing all 13 episodes. Terry would take treatments the Japanese wrote and form them into actual episodes, and to do that for 13 episodes with a major language barrier on a show as unconventional as this, like, hats off, he did great. The whole writing team did great. Sue Wild, one of the producers, also had her hand in the freaking Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, along with model artist Steve Rosewell. Also, a quick shout out to Steve Apps and Robert Simper, who are quite possibly the first non-Japanese actors to play live-action Ultraman. While not every single member of the Australian crew has an interesting career as the ones I've mentioned, all of their talents and experience make the show as good as it is, and having them all be involved in a franchise as big as Ultraman means their work will never be forgotten, because dumb white kids on the internet like me will still be watching it. These guys genuinely cared, they put effort in, and people who know me with the movies and games and shows I like know that I heavily value an earnest attempt that is clearly visible. That's why I love Ultraman Towards the Future, because they gave a shit. I feel like a lot of people would not put in that much effort or lowball production efforts, because it's a show where people in rubber suits slap each other. It's a joke, we don't need to be serious. But they did take it seriously, they actually cared, which, let's be honest, is a rarity among people who don't get this giant monster stuff like we do. They care enough to put that swear in.
The choice is yours. Gudus is a god.
That's not a choice. That's bullshit.
This swear probably has nothing to do with the team caring, but come on. You don't just casually drop a swear into a kid's show and actively keep it in unless the writer, actor, director, editor cares enough about the stupid-ass show and feels like it's an inclusion that makes sense. It's also a fucking cold-ass line. It's awesome.
That's not a choice. That's bullshit.
Despite a humble 13-episode run, Ultraman Towards the Future has had a pretty steady legacy, and it freaking deserves it. This show carried Supro for a couple of years in reruns and toys alone before they could get their footing again.
I am Ultraman. Ultraman, new from DreamWorks.
Ultraman Great has mostly appeared in guest roles in a handful of movies, and even had an arc in Ultra Galaxy Fight. The only problem I have with these cameos is that he's always paired up with Ultraman Powered from Ultimate Hero, which is very unfortunate. Ultraman Towards the Future hasn't been released in the West yet. There is a Japanese Blu-ray box set that does have all the English stuff and whatever, so buy that if you want. But the show has been uploaded to YouTube many times, so it's still super accessible. Ultraman Towards the Future is the Ultra show that ticks all the right boxes for me. It's got a good cast, fast pace, great music, good story, and will always be the Ultraman show I go to throw on in the background. And that's the big reason why I love this show. It's super breezy and can easily be finished in an afternoon. So if you ever want something thrown in the background, or just something easy, throw on Ultraman Towards the Future. Trust me, my friend, you won't be disappointed.
Savior from the stars.